Welcome to In the Boardroom. I'm David Zidel, and today we're in conversation with Phillip Krawitz. Welcome to Phillip Krawitz, all the way from Cape Town. They say Cape Town's called the mother city because it takes 9 months to deliver anything. But Phillip delivers. Phillip started off in business by accident. Not really so much by accident, but through a heart attack. Not his own heart attack, but his father's heart attack. His father had a store, one store, 3 employees, and unfortunately had a heart attack. And Phillip, who kind of worked there as a youngster on the weekends, all of a sudden had to take over. Very traumatic. How do you do that? And from one store, has grown it to 250 stores in South Africa and around the world. You've got some around the world yet?
Only as far as Namibia and Botswana.
That's the world. So, and about 3,500 employees. So we want to hear the story of how did you start from something so traumatic? How did you grow it? How do you cope with pressures, work pressures that are sometimes work-related pressures, and as we know now in today's times, other pressures as well. Phillip, if we can start, just me asking you, how did you cope with that were you 20 or 22 years old? Just take us through the mindset and how did you grow a business like this?
Sure. Firstly, good morning, everybody. Great to see you all. The mothers are getting up early. They always say Cape Town wakes up with a noonday gun, which is about true because we take life very leisurely. We try and fool everybody into thinking that there's nothing much going on, but we're not doing too badly, actually. In my particular case, there I was at the University of Cape Town enjoying myself. I was photographic editor of the varsity newspaper, having lots of fun with student life. My dad, unfortunately, took ill, had a heart attack, and somebody had to run the business because our little business was feeding our little family. So I came into the business, and a friend of mine, Rabbi Schippel's late father-in-law, Joseph Wassenaar, wonderful man, he's in Renoli Bracha, and he said something very interesting. He said, there are no such thing as coincidences in life. Coincidences are simply Hashem's way of remaining anonymous. And I'm a great believer that everything is in life is for a purpose and for a reason. And who are we to question? God forbid we have some bad news. What do we say? Dayan Haemet. Hashem is the true judge. And I believe in that. I believe that this happened. So there I was, working as university photographer, paying my way through university as a photographer. I worked as a photographer for a number of newspapers and others. I played in a pop band, believe it or not, but my hair was a little bit longer. There I was enjoying this life, and suddenly somebody had to come and run this business and pick up the pieces. And I did. And actually, my dad, fortunately, he recovered. Within about a year, he recovered. At that stage, he came to the business, and I loved him dearly. But we fought like you can't believe. My poor late mother, they used to call her Miss Ellie because if you remember all the programs at the time with Dallas, she was the peacemaker making peace between us. And we fought. Why did we fight? Because my dad said, this is the way it's always been done. I learned this in the army, and I'm saying, Dad, I went to university. This is what we learned here. And we clashed. We loved each other, but we clashed. So eventually my dad said, tell you what, we bought a little business called Sparks and Geddes, sells uniforms. You go and run that. I'll run Cape Union Mart. Fine, Dad, that's perfect. Anyway, something I did right, I flipped it, and suddenly Sparks and Geddes grew. Suddenly Sparks and Geddes was much bigger than Cape Union Mart. My dad called me and said, I think you better come and run Cape Union Mart now. And that was my sort of passage into the business. And I have to say to you that there I was very, very much alone. And the 2 organizations actually played a really big deal in my life. One of them was a little organization called the Hebrew Order of David Lodge Haifa, of which Alan was a member and I was a member. And we met and we built this little network. I needed Who do you do your insurance? Hang on, there's a guy in the lodge who does insurance. Let's get him. Wait, some of this person. Hang on, who in the lodge is a plumber? Is somebody there who's an electrician? And wait, I need an attorney. Okay, the late Stan Kowalski, we'll call him Stan. Remember him, Alan? Yeah. And that's exactly how we worked. That was my first sort of network. Anyway, I decided that we needed to grow the business a little bit because I was quite ambitious, and I'd met my wife, and I was now 22 and wanted to get married, and I needed more than the 300 Rand a month salary which I was promised at the time. And so decided to just grow the business a little bit. The shop grew bigger and better and grew. And we decided that the only way we could survive was taking the lesson of my late dad. And my late dad's lesson was simply this. He said, you've got all the big shops of Adderley Street, you've got all the big shops of Plain Street. To come to our little shop on the corner of Corporation and Master Street, we must be doing something different to the others. So let's carry bigger sizes than anybody else. Let's carry winter goods in summer for travelers and vice versa. Let's carry people going skiing. Where do you buy ski wear? Then my dad remembered the army safari suit. He said, safari suits are popular. Why don't we do one that's drip dry? We did drip dry safari suits, and that took off as a massive fashion. You remember, you were combing the socks or the long socks, all those sort of things. And that was the safari suit craze. And then my dad had heard about something called an anorak. Nobody knew what an anorak was. It was an Eskimo word. And we found somebody, we said, well, let's import some from Hong Kong. And we did. And the next thing, I got to hear about these auctions which would take place overseas of army surplus clothing and things like that. So I said, wait a minute, we must be able to bid for things like that. Got the procedures. We went ahead, and here I was, determined to get some greatcoats, put in my bid, and couldn't believe it. At the first shot, my bid won. Only trouble, it wasn't greatcoats, it was ladies' panties, which were surplus to the army. So I had to get rid of those, and I was now in serious trouble because I hadn't made too much money. So I heard of a situation that there was a truck with avocado pears where the air conditioning had failed, and the avocados would go rotten in about 3 days' time. So I said, fine, I'll buy the truck. I bought the truck of avocado pears and ran around to grocers selling off my avocado pears. And so this was the way that, a good old traditional Jewish smos operates. And that's how we started. Anyway, we now had a little bit of money. And I said to my dad, you know what? We should open a second store. What are you talking about? We've got food on the table. We've got one car in the family. What do you need more for? Dad, like a little bit anyway. With my mother playing a wonderful role as the peacemaker, we opened the second store in Parow. That did quite well. So we opened another one in Claremont, and so the business grew. And we just decided to do things differently. There we were in the corner between OK Bazaars on the one side, Woolworths on the other side, and we were the corner shop. And my dad said, the only way we can make money, we should change the name of our business and call it Main Entrance. So that was the kind of thinking that we had in our business, and the business grew. And then my late mom and dad had never traveled overseas. We were living in a little pre-war flat, paying 20 Rand a month rental at the time, and we didn't have money. And my mom and dad, never demanded anything. They were only concerned about giving us good educations and helping us and doing everything they could for my sister and me. And the business was now growing, grew quite well. And my dad said, we've just got to give better service than anybody else. And we used to get the tourists coming into Cape Town and the whaling ships coming into Cape Town. So what did my dad do? My dad at that stage went down to the docks, made friends with the captain of the tugs, and he used to go out in the tugs to meet the ships in the bay. And he would take little maps of Cape Town and he would distribute them, push them under the doors of the cabins on the ships until he would inevitably be caught and stopped. But one thing I learned from a very brilliant professor by the name of Dr. Ichak Adizis was the theory: it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. And that's what his philosophy was. So that was kind of the ethos on which the business grew, just doing exceptional things to try and make it better and better. And as a result, we opened a few more stores and some more stores. And then we had a very creative young guy who said, really, we must be moving beyond that. My daughter said, yes, Dad, it's terrible, but do nothing for ladies. So we said, well, why don't we start a little lady section and we'll grow that. And so poetry was born. And my daughter, my middle daughter, who went to the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York, came back and she started developing styles, and that sort of took off, and that went very well. And then we said, Cape Union Mart is more traditional customer. What about the young, new South African look? So we said, let's start with something, and we started Old Khaki. And Old Khaki started growing and growing rapidly. And Old Khaki is going to be our biggest brand. It'll be bigger than Cape Union Mart because we can open more Old Khaki stores. There's smaller stores where you can't justify a 500 or 1,000 square meter store for Cape Union. You can't justify a 150 square meter store for Old Khaki. And that's really, really growing and growing really fast. So that was the introduction of our 3 chains. What actually helped us as a business fundamentally was a simple philosophy, which simply said, if we can treat our customers with respect, if we can pay our suppliers on time, if we can be a good corporate citizen and support society, if we can make sure that our products are environmentally friendly, if we do all those things, we should be able to do okay and make enough profit to live on. And so we have the most unusual corporate mission of any company that I know about. It doesn't speak about profits. It doesn't speak about the return to shareholders. It doesn't speak about anything else other than saying the following. It says, we aim to be a world-class family business, trusted for our family values and passion to improve lives. That's what we want to be a world-class retailer, trusted for our family values and passion to improve lives. And that's really what we've done. And we've tried to say, if we can take people and grow them from where they are, where they can be, that's something really, really important. Some years later, I got very involved with Young Presidents Organization. I didn't want to join because I told them I was the poorest member by a few billion, and I didn't want to join because we were far too small. They persuaded me, and eventually we joined them. But again, it was the net worth of the network. There was an event that we held called a university, where we bring people from all over the world, and we have a huge learning experience. And we did one half in Cape Town and half in Johannesburg. And the session in Johannesburg, the end of it, I had planned, I was what they call the university education chairman, and I had invited Nelson Mandela. And he was getting on, it was towards the end of his days, and I didn't know if he would come. And Zidel phoned me just about an hour before he was due to speak. And she said, the old man's feet have swollen. They're really swelled up hugely. We're waiting for his doctor to come. So let me phone you after the doctor's been as to whether he can come or not. She phoned me about a half an hour later. She said, listen, the doctor says he can come, but only if he wears his slippers. He can't wear shoes. I said, if he came naked, he'd be welcome. Anyway, in came the old man. And this was probably the last speech that he ever gave, the last public speech. And he looked out at this gathering of multi-billionaires from around the world. And he turned around, he said, you two, and you. He says, you are privileged people. You are wealthy, you have power, you have influence. And you have the ability to use that power, that knowledge, that influence, I'll never forget the words, to change the world from what it is to what it can be. And I thought that was the most powerful, powerful statement. We have the power to change the world from what it is to what it can be. And I thought that was beautiful. And we have taken that as one of our mantras and trying to give people opportunities, taking machinists who start off, they can't even sew. We teach them how to sew in our factory and see them several years later, supervisors running the factory, running divisions, etc. Taking people who started off as salespeople on our sales floor together with me and who became future directors of our company. And to me, that is one of the most important factors of life, because one day if any of us are fortunate enough to get to meet our maker, we're not going to be asked, what class did you fly? How big was your wife's diamond ring? Did you have a Ferrari? Maker's going to ask us one question. Hey, bud, I put you on that earth along with all the creatures who are created in my image. How did you treat your fellow man? And I think that that's something that if you have that as your driving force, as a guiding light, be able to answer that question, well, I did my best and I was able to change just one life, then I think is where you want to go as you go from this journey in this world to another better place. And I think that's an important theory. So that's really what drove us, and that's how we grew our little business. And here we are today, very happy, facing lots of challenges, every day more challenges, but very proud to be in the business as we are and to have the opportunity to change people's lives.
Wow, that's amazing. So I just want to take you back. You said your dad went onto the ship and he put the thing. Was that a way of advertising? Was it sponsored by Cape Union Mart, or did he say part of the map was to come past your
map
stores?
Was to come to Cape Union Mart and told all the things that we sold.
Fantastic.
And I think my dad should have got a marketing award in those days, but they didn't know what marketing.
Another thing. So somebody told me that you've got, as I said earlier, you've got 3,500 employees. Someone said to me, do you know that he's never fired or dismissed a single person? And I find that impossible to believe. Is that true?
If it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. It's not quite true. We've fired lots of people, but we've never retrenched a single person. We've never ever walked up to a human being and said, sorry, times are tough, it's COVID, we've got no business. We said we will keep every single one of our staff. What we will do is if you step out of line, we have a disciplinary code. We'll give you the fairest possible internal disciplinary hearing. If necessary, it will go external. And if you don't meet certain parameters or you've broken certain rules, absolutely, we will fire you. We don't entrench people.
So how do you bring those rules into everyday life when it almost feels unfair to you because the world's not treating you like that today? I mean, you were telling me earlier about outside your stores, there's boycotts, and I'd like you to explain. You used a term I thought was brilliant where you said it's turned into a boycott where people are coming to buy. But if you can just expand on that a bit.
But it's easy. It's all Howie's fault. It's absolutely Howie's fault. You know, I always believe that you can't just take out of society. You've got to put in. And as a result, I've been pretty involved in numerous spheres. I was involved with the Young Presidents Organizations. I was involved with Herzliya School. I became chairman, now chairman of the board of trustees of Herzliya. The United Jewish Campaign, I'm chairman of the board of trustees of that. I've been a trustee along with Gaynor Rupert for about the past 40 years of an amazing organization called Ikam Valabantu. And I've been involved with Keren Hayesod, board of governors of Jewish agencies for Israel. And what happened is I was given an award by Keren Hayesod, presented by the president of Israel at the time, for services to Israel and things which I've done, of which, by the way, I was very proud then, and I'm still very proud and will always be proud of my support for Israel. I will never, ever deny that. Anyway, I was given this Keren Hayesod award, and very graciously, the SA Jewish Report published a picture of me together, my wife together with Netanyahu when I got this award. Well, our enemies got onto that. Suddenly, I became, quote unquote, the biggest funder of the Israeli army. Well, you know, firstly, I would be privileged to be the biggest funder of anything in Israel. Compared to the Americans, I'm a very humble funder. I've never funded any army anywhere in the world, but, you know, who cares about the truth when you're onto a good story? And so they picked up on that for years, picked up on that. I'm the biggest funder to the Israeli army, and you must boycott K-Way, and you mustn't buy K from K-Way. In the Western Cape, we probably have, I don't know, somewhere between 900,000 and a million Muslims. And traditionally, they've been very good customers of ours. I also had a good relationship. I was chairman of the board of deputies in Cape Town, and I had a good relationship with the Muslim community. I mean, I used to have Muslim sheikhs around my table on Shabbat. I was invited to their Al-Fitr functions, which is their holiest nights, etc. I had this good relationship, and I thought it was a good relationship. But unfortunately, the radicals tended to, really dominate the whole narrative. And I was posted as the biggest fighter to this terrible country and the Israeli army. And it would die down each year and then would come back. And of course, it did have an effect because, the Muslims were great customers. And they were told if they wear K-way to the mosque, they'll throw paint at them. If their children wear K-way to school, they'll beat them up. And that besides the fact that we have over 400 Muslim employees in our company. So we went out to our Muslim employees. We said, listen, if any of you are being threatened for working for us, resign now. We'll give you every benefit. You'll get your full benefits and leave immediately. 4 left. 4 resigned. But the situation got worse. And then, of course, the situation in the Middle East flared up. Suddenly, they decided to launch boycotts, and they decided to launch protests, and they decided they would protest outside our stores. They did protest in a couple of stores in the Gauteng. They did in Cape Town to a few of the stores there. And to this day, every Saturday, we have them outside Canal Walk store. We have them outside our Key 4 store at the waterfront. And it's been a very interesting situation because, firstly, shouldn't I sue them for defamation? And then I thought to myself, do I want to actually say that being associated with the Israeli army is defaming me? I'm proud of my country, and I love the state of Israel. So that didn't work. Then it's wonderful to find out that one of the main protesters was a young Jewish boy. Did I want to be suing a Jewish boy, Jew versus Jew? Next thing I thought, well, we'll go for one of them. Do I want to be this big white Jewish company suing this poor little Muslim family? That's not going to work. Then they said, well, get a few guys, tell them to go in and break a few kneecaps. That's not our style. We don't do that sort of thing. Everybody has a right to protest in South Africa as long as you stick to the rules. Unfortunately, they don't quite stick to the rules because you're not supposed to have more than 25 people. And occasionally they have, and then they'll take a few off and then bring them. You're not supposed to use loud hailers. They use loud hailers. You're not supposed to tell lies. They tell lies. They have pictures of my wife and myself and Netanyahu. Same picture that came from the Jewish report. How we pay royalties. And really and truly, those are the sort of things that happen. At last year, I was very graciously given an award by the Jewish Achievers. They picked up on that. They picked up on what I had to say. They didn't take down the most important statement that I made of the evening. And the most important statement was that I urged Jewish companies to go out and create jobs. And what I said, and how you will recall this, I said, if we can create jobs, we will reduce poverty. If we reduce poverty, we will reduce crime. If we reduce crime, we'll get foreign direct investment. If we get foreign direct investment, we will create more jobs and our economy will grow. That was the statement which I made at the board at the event at SA Jewish Achievers Award. They chose to simply use it that, here I was endorsing Israel yet again. So that's where we are. We've decided to live with the boycotters. We noticed a lot of customers coming in, seeing the protest outside, walking in, buying goods, and then taking the bags and waving them in the face of the boycotters and saying, look what we bought. And I think that we've had a tremendous amount of what we call boycotts. People coming and saying, we're especially going to buy because to make up for the boycotts. And we think that our Jewish community has been amazingly supportive, for which we're extremely grateful. I have to tell you that the Christian community are amongst our very best and dearest friends and often underrated and not appreciated for all they go through. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, Rabbi Tzuli Riesenberger joined the protest outside Parliament, which they do every Friday, had the Christians standing there, and they were beaten up, and she's now suing them, which is good for her. So, really and truly, it's one of those sad cases. We're expected to play by the rules, but they aren't. And funnily enough, That's mirrored with the situation in Israel. We're expected to play by the rules, but it's quite okay to walk in, to kill people, to kill citizens without even a soldier in sight. Where has the Red Cross been in going to visit our hostages? Who's speaking out about whether they're being treated fairly or looked after? Who's allowing them visits? And I'm sorry if I sound passionate about it, but I am, and I always will be.
So let me bring you back from that, which is very important, but bring you back to the company. When you look at your logo of the company, it's got like a little mountain and it's a K and it's called K-Way. Is there a reason, and how did you come up with the name?
Sure. Firstly, that little logo, Table Mountain and the ship, because that was our origins. That was my dad going out in the little tugboats to go and drop off maps, etc. But what happened is my dad was a great Democrat. The representatives used to come in with their range of shoes. So they put out all the shoes, put out 20 rows of shoes. They said, now which ones do you want to buy? So my dad would call his 3 staff and myself all together, say, okay, I want your opinions on which ones we should buy. So the staff and I would get together and we said, Dad, we think you should buy number 3, number 7, and number 9. My dad would turn around and say, now listen to all of your opinions. I've heard what you say, but we're going to buy number 2, number 8, and number 11. I would turn around and say, yeah, they used to call my dad Mr. K. So yeah, as usual, we'll do it the K-Way. I thought to myself, wait a minute, that's quite a nice name. So I registered the name K-Way and we started building this brand. And today, I think it's fair to say we're the largest South African brand of clothing that there is. I can also tell you that we received a phone call about a decade back or more from a lawyer to say, please remove the name K-Way and take all the K-Way goods off your shelf. You don't own the rights to K-Way. There's a company in France who's been doing it for years, and they're now going to sue you. I said, well, that's very nice. That's terrific. When was the company established? No, the company was established in 1963. So I said, okay, here are the adverts that we've been posting since the 1950s, since the 1960s, early 1960s. We were in business far before you. And in fact, we can sue you, not you sue us. The next thing, K-Way, it was sold to an Italian company called BasicNet. BasicNet people came to see us. They came to make shallow. We have an arrangement. We can bring in K-Way branded stuff from the Far East if we want to. They can buy from South Africa if they want to. We can sell in Africa. They can sell in Europe. And we have a very good relationship. But K-Way is certainly the best-known clothing brand. There was recently a conference on trademarks and the absolute, we're going through hell. I should be able to get R1 for every fake K-Way garment and I'd be a billionaire. Every builder's worker you'll find wearing a K-Way. When they're having a criminal case and the murderer is in the docks, you'll make sure he's wearing a K-Way. And so these are the things you have to put up with. And we shut down factories regularly. We're making fake garments. We burn the goods that they've made. But it's ridiculous. But out of all the companies, most of them, the Louis Vuittons and the Coca-Colas, the others, and there's little K-Way joining the same club as fighting for our legitimate right to continue with our name. So, the K-Way name lives on, and we have no intention of dispensing with it. It's just growing steadily, and we hope people like the brand.
So let me take you back to the tachlis of business for people to understand if maybe they're running their own businesses. How do you go about growing a business? How do you go about sourcing the goods, pricing the goods? How do you, especially when prices are changing quite a lot now, increasing prices? What's the approach, and do you have a model of, is it just a markup based on cost, or take an item and how do you price it?
It's a very, very good question. Very good question indeed. I met one of the ladies coming in who told me that she was in marketing. So what's marketing? No, they're telling a good story and selling it. Now, for a couple of decades, I lectured at the University of Cape Town at the marketing honors course and at the Graduate School of Business. And I redefined marketing in a different way. I said, marketing is the profitable creation of consumer satisfying goods and services. Run that again. Profitable creation of consumer satisfying goods and services. In other words, find out what the customer wants, create it or obtain it for them, add a profit to ourselves, make sure it satisfies. So those are the critical elements. Find out what the customer wants, create it or obtain it, add a profit to ourselves, make sure it satisfies. Now, all of that is extremely, extremely important. You know who sets the prices? The customer sets the prices. When my buyers go out, my merchandisers go out, the first thing they say is, what will the customer pay for this? What are the opposition setting it at? What will the customer pay for it? Now, we have 4 swords of Damocles that hang above every buyer. And they've got to tick off these 4 swords before they release a product. And the 4 swords are, the first one says, does the product represent excellent value for money? Number 2, does the quality not meet? Does the quality exceed the customer's expectations? We want you to wonder why the shorts that you bought from us, made from the D62 sateen material, developed for the miners to slide on their bums in the mines, why that's going to last you longer than you ever thought it would. Okay, so the first one is find out, what that doesn't meet what the customer wants. So we've got the 4. First one that I said, it's got to be what the customer wants. The price has got to represent excellent value for money, number 1. The quality has got to exceed the customer's expectations. The garment has got to meet the purpose for which it was designed. No use having a shirt with a pocket for your passport, but it's too small for the passport to hold. No use having a photographer's vest that you can't fit the lens into. And then the most important point at the end of it all is, does it have an added value feature which will benefit the customer? So that's why very often you'll see that some of our trousers have got a little zip pocket inside that you don't even know about when you buy it, so that they can't steal your valuables or pickpocket you. And that's why the suitcase that you buy from us is a very unusual suitcase, because as you pick it up, it weighs itself, so that you don't have to arrive at the counter and be told that you're overweight, please unpack all your undies in front of all the queue of people that's over there. So these are the kind of things that we do. So that's how we actually price our products. We source from all over the world. We have our own 2 factories, Kway, which employs about 400 people, and where we do all our technical stuff, and Green Thread Manufacturers, which is where we make all our poetry garments. We also have our very own design studio. We don't simply go and copy other people's designs. We have brilliant designers in a brilliant little studio where we actually create our own garments. And we try very hard to make sure that our products are absolutely world-class excellent. And I have to boast and tell you that my wife and I travel overseas often, and people come up to her, oh, darling, who was your designer for the dress you're wearing this evening, and who did this? And she proudly turns around and says, I bought it at Poetry in Cape Town and it cost less than $50. And really, we're very proud of the fact that our garments are worn internationally. People are looking at them. The quality is there. The styling is there. I love Israel. I'm passionate about South Africa. I love South Africa. I don't want people to turn around and say, I bought some of that South African made stuff. It's rubbish. We always tell our people that this is another one of our issues. Service is absolutely one of the most passionate things about us. If you walk into any of our stores, you should be greeted by within 5 paces into the store. You should have knowledgeable salespeople who will tell you all about the product. They should be able to source for you. If you haven't got what you want, they'll source it for you through what we call Omni and have it delivered to you. So these are the things. We want to give exceptional service. So when somebody leaves South Africa and they go to our store at Oliver Tambo Airport and they buy something, I want them to say, we went to that store. Well, the service, I suppose it wasn't bad for Africa. That's the most insulting statement I can hear. I want them to hear, gee, what brilliant service we have. This country is really on the up and up. So these are the ways that all of us can help ourselves and help our country as well.
A lot of companies will, I think it's called built-in incompetence or built-in obsolescence, where it's a way of, if it lasts forever, you're going to sell less. You're saying you make it to last a lot longer.
Absolutely.
Which might go against then you're going to sell less.
You'd think so, but the customer says, you know what, I can trust this brand. And trust is what brings them back. And I've never known somebody to say, well, I'm going to go on wearing this shirt forever, even though it's out of fashion. So you'll go along and say, well, the last time I bought a shirt there, it just lasted me for years and years and years. I'll go buy another shirt there. This time the look may be different, but the quality will be the same. By the way, we have what we call our 5-way guarantee. It's up in all of our stores. I don't know anybody else who has this guarantee. Number one, we guarantee to match the price on any product currently available from any bricks and mortar retailer. So if you walk in, you say, but I saw that somewhere else, salesperson's got to say, was it the same size, was it the same color? They've got to verify it. They match the price in the store. Now, the interesting thing is they may be matching the price at below our cost price. Happens occasionally. So should we sell? And the answer is, at that stage, we're not interested in profit. We have one goal. We want to keep the customer. So the first thing is we will match the price on anything. Here's the second thing. I don't know any store that does this. Any product that you buy, if within 90 days it goes on sale, come in and we'll refund you the difference between the sale price and the price you paid. Number 3, guarantee. We guarantee every product. What do we mean we guarantee it? We guarantee it to give fair wear and tear. What's fair wear and tear? So whatever the customer thinks fair wear and tear should be. You never win an argument with a customer. Another thing that we do is foreigners come in, and if you want to know the rate of exchange, just go to any hotel and you'll get a rate of exchange 20% worse than anywhere else. We give the official rate of exchange on the day. And, that's something that we've done to this day. Customers don't know how much bread should cost in your country, but sure as hell, they know what the rate of exchange should be. Give it to them and they build trust immediately. So, these are some of the things that we do to make sure that we give the fairest possible deal that we can. And the last point is when you walk in and Mrs. Jones walks and she says, I'm buying the shirt for my hubby. I don't know if you'd like the green one or the brown one. Mrs. Smith, take both of them. Bring us back the one that you don't want. No, but I'm not coming back to town next week. Mrs. Smith, any product apart from underwear that you buy from us that hasn't been used, that you've got your original wrapping and your cash docket, come in and you can return it within 12 months for a full refund. I had to tell you how many refunds you think we give after 30 days? Very few. Do you know what comfort it gives the customer? And what happens when Mrs. Smith comes in and she takes the brown and the green and goes home? 80% of the time, the husband says, I like both, keep both of them. So, these are the things that you could do. It sounds like good practice, but it also makes good business sense.
And earlier you shared with me the concept which you called, I think you called it HEART, which is also related to this. Maybe you can expand on that concept. Sure.
You asked me advice earlier on one of the things I would say if you're trying to grow a business. There's that wonderful little book, The 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard. And he says something in it which is really excellent. He says, business is all about the assembly of resources around an idea. So you have an idea, you've got to assemble resources. And here's the trick. Go out and employ people who are much smarter than you at any of the things that you need them for. Now, I tell people the honest truth. I'm actually useless at everything. And I really, truly mean it. I couldn't possibly put a set of accounts together. I'm quite good at taking them apart, but I couldn't put it together. I wouldn't know where to turn on a machine in my factory. I haven't got the patience to stand on a sales floor. So what have I done? I've gone out and I've employed people who are much smaller than I am. And I just make sure they play nicely together. And that's something that we've all got to learn in business. Be proud of the people who are smarter than you are. So that's one of the things. The second thing is Sam Walton said, the secret to my success is getting ordinary people to do extraordinary things. And that's what's really important in life as well. You want to inspire your people. You want to, we have something called TAVIS that we teach them at our conferences. Turn all visits into sales. Okay, don't just let the customer stand. Show them. They've come into your store. Wow, what an opportunity to show them your terrific merchandise, to tell them about the properties of this fabric, to explain how this one wicks water, how that one breathes and is waterproof. So these are the sort of things that you want. But it all boils down to the people. And we always say that there are 5 unspoken requests that every human being has. And if you observe those 5 requests, you will have wonderful relationships. And those 5 requests go by the acronym HEART, H-E-A-R-T. And the H says, hear and understand me. Don't just hear what I'm saying, hear what I'm feeling. Mike, listen, we need you to take over the branch in Namibia. Gee whiz, I just moved to Cape Town recently. My kids have just got into school here. My mother-in-law is not particularly well, and my wife is just trying to make friends with people. But I'm a company man. If you need me to be in Namibia, I'll be in Namibia. What did Mike say? Mike said, you'll be in Namibia. What was Mike feeling? Didn't want to go to Namibia. So the H says, hear and understand me. Don't just hear what I'm saying, hear what I'm feeling. The E says, even if you disagree, don't make me wrong. For me to be right, you don't have to be wrong. In our company, you're not allowed to turn around and say, how are you wrong? You are allowed to turn around and say, Howie, I have a different view. For me to be right, you don't have to be wrong. The A says, acknowledge the greatness within me. Every human being has greatness. Every human being. And it's our job to seek out that greatness. You may be a terrible salesman. You might be a wonderful husband. You might be a poor machinist. You might be a great scoutmaster for your troop. Everybody's got greatness within them. And our job is to find that greatness and to build on that greatness and to walk in, to talk to your staff and say, how did your scout meeting go last night? And show an interest in that. So you've got your hear and understand me, even if you disagree, don't make me wrong. Acknowledge the greatness within me, greatness within me. The R is lovely. You're driving down the road, lady driver pulls out, hoots feverishly at you, rolls down her window, screams at you, pig, pig, pig. What's the obvious thing to do? Turn around, overtake her, roll down your window, scream back at her, sow, sow, sow. 10 meters later, she collided with a pig sitting in the middle of the road. What's the lesson? We always suspect people for their worst. Always. Remember to look for my loving intentions. Guy turns around and he says, I really think we should open up a branch at this place, Fontaine. Yeah, I know why you want that, just because, you want to live there because they've got a good jerk skate team there. Gosh, it was the furthest thing from my mind, brothers. Besides which, I've injured myself and I can't play jerk skate anymore. But I really thought it was good for the business. So remember to look for people's loving intentions. And the last thing is the T. The T says, tell me the truth with compassion. Don't walk up to me and say, you're a great salesman, but unfortunately, I've just got to lay you off at this because we've got too many. Turn around and say, really, I feel so bad because I know how hard you tried. But unfortunately, you're not great at sales. And you really should look for another direction. So those are the 5 unspoken requests. Hear and understand me. Even if you disagree, don't make me wrong. Acknowledge the greatness within me. Remember to look for my loving intentions and tell me the truth with compassion.
Interestingly enough, when you captivated like this, you don't realize that we've been going for 45 minutes already. I think it's incredible. And maybe what I want to ask you is, can we book off the rest of your day? So we're getting towards the end of this, and I want to leave a little bit of time for questions as well.
Sure.
But maybe, can you share, I'm going to ask you a double question. One, share some business stories that you think would be interesting or funny or amusing or insightful of what's happened over the years, number one. And number two, if you had to leave a message, I know you've got 7 grandkids, to your grandkids, and what they should take with them going forward as business leaders, as human beings, what would that message be?
Firstly, the grandchildren. I'm a passionate grandfather of 7 wonderful, amazing grandchildren. I love them to bits. I told Tracy and Karen earlier this morning that the loveliest T-shirt I saw was the one which said, grandchildren are your reward for having not murdered your children. I'm passionately in love with my grandchildren. I'm passionately in love with my daughters. There is only one thing that you can give your child that you can never take away. That's education. And whatever happens, I hate to tell you what it costs for my two grandsons and my granddaughter in New York go to a private Jewish school there, or what it costs to send my grandson to Brandeis University in Boston. It's all cheap. There's no gift that you can give your children greater than education. But apart from giving them that education, there's something that you can't give them. There's something that you can inculcate in them. And that is values. And we've always said that if we can equip our children and our grandchildren with a backpack of values, that will guide them through everything. We cannot, I mean, really, just go back 20 years ago. Who would ever have thought that you could have a thing called an iPhone, that you could actually check the New York Stock Exchange, measure your pulse, do anything that you need to in the world on it? I mean, who would have thought, who thought we needed these things? So we don't know what they're going to need in the future. We don't know what they're going to use in the future. But sure as hell, if you give them good values, that is the most important thing that will guide them through absolutely everything in life. And I think that's important. The second thing is little stories about things going on. I mean, I still think that we have had the most amazing time with wonderful stories. One of our customers always used to be the guys who go down to the Antarctic on the ships, France used to go down to the islands of Francis Repetta was the ship name, etc. And these guys go down to the Antarctic, and the Antarctic is quite an unusual environment. So one day we get a call from the department of the equipment. They need to see us. They need help. What's the problem? The problem is this epidemic of cats on Marion Island. And the cats are all destroying the birds on Marion Island. I said, yes, so what's this got to do with me? No, wait, we've got to tell you the whole story. So we're trying to control the population of cats, and we need to kill the cats. If we poison them, the birds will feed on the poisoned carcasses. That's not going to work. Okay. If we shoot them, the noise is going to disturb breeding session. So that's not going to work. These cats run down little holes and things, so we can't send in people to try and slit their throats inside. We don't know what to do, but somebody mentioned that Jack Russell Terriers are very good, and you can train them to go and kill cats. So yes, so what's this got to do with me? No, there's a problem, because Jack Russell Terriers weren't meant for very cold conditions. Huskies have hair under their paws, and the Jack Russell Terriers don't. But, why are you telling me this? Well, this is what we need. Can you make ice boots for dogs going to the So, my intrepid designers, we set about making little ice boots for Jack Russell Terriers to go down to Marion Island. So, there's just one of our little anecdotes. Run out of time, I can tell you lots.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes, fantastically. Poor cats.
So really, thank you for unbelievable insights and different aspects to business. And the lessons we've learned, I think, are incredible. I'd like to open up. Has anyone got any questions for the last 10 minutes?
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah, just in terms of building, as you say, brands around your hotel outlets, you at any time, like some of the bigger corporations, have those brands valued? And does that appear on your balance sheet, or is that an intangible that around with? The second one, I think you made a very good point about family businesses. But I think there's a lot of topics on how does a family business eventually exit? Is it succession planning, or how does it do list on the stock exchange? Maybe your thoughts in that.
Sure. Let me deal with the second question first.
Right.
It's not an easy question. One thing that I never want to do is to create a straitjacket for my children to fit into.
Right.
Our business has grown, thank God, tremendously. All my daughters, my three daughters, have at some stage been involved in the business.
Right.
My middle daughter, as I told you, went to Fashion Institute of Technology. She was responsible for creating the poetry range. My youngest daughter, my other daughters regard themselves as intellectually challenged, but compared to her, she was super smart. She went to the Wharton School in America, joined the Boston Consulting Group, then got headhunted to Victoria's Secret. All I was waiting for was tickets to the fashion show. And I get a call, Daddy, yes, sweetheart, I've checked up my job at Victoria's Secret. What, you mad? I want to go to Harvard to do my MBA, so she went to Harvard to do her MBA. She came and she actually started our online business, which compared to any of the other businesses, ours far outstrips them in terms of the success. She did a brilliant job. Then there's a terrible guy called David Frankel who came along and said, Amanda, I need you to run my New York office, to come to my New York office of our venture capital company. Made her an unbelievable offer. She came to me, she said, Dad, please talk me out of it. I said, I can't, darling, it's too good an offer. So she's now a partner of his firm there, but she played a role in the business.
Fantastic.
My eldest daughter, who worked for Investec for a number of years, came to join the family business. She's been fantastic. She's our brands manager, looks at all the brands and make sure the brands meet their particular image. But she doesn't want to run the business. So what we've done is we've got our second external CEO who's coming to run the business. My options for succession are therefore limited. None of my three daughters wants to run the business. We could simply put in professional management. I remain as, at the moment, I'm executive chairman, but I could move to non-executive chairman.
Right.
We have had a number of people who've come to see if they can buy us, but we're still having a bit of fun, so we don't think we're ready for that yet. Listing would be my biggest nightmare because I would have to be publicly, all over the coals for what I did or didn't do and valued as to how much I might be worth or might not be worth. That would be my least option. So the probability is that in time to come, we might exit to one of the major retailers who regularly come to see us. We'll do that. Valuing the intellectual property of our trademarks, no, we have not done that. We're a private family company. We are audited to the highest standards. We always tell them, you go and audit us as if we were a public company. And I must say that we have excellent audits and we try and keep the company conservatively valued. But clearly our brands have got high level of equity. And if we needed to do so, it's something we could always do in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So just to keep it in the family, I don't know if you know, but I am open to being adopted.
I'm afraid to qualify for us, you have to be a member of the Lucky Sperm Club.
Philip, have you ever thought of franchising?
Oh, absolutely. We did. We franchised a store in Johannesburg.
Yes.
And after that, I actually wanted to write a book on franchising because every mistake that could have been made, we made. We were the worst franchisors you've ever come across. And our franchisee was the worst franchisee you could ever come across. So it was a tremendous exercise and we decided, no, from now on, we'll own the brand and we'll do that. We tend to keep it that way. Boy, did we make every single mistake that we could have. We were terrible. But now at least we're masters of our own destiny.
Thank you.
Lady at the back.
I wanted to ask you, has the Shane and the Timus and all this online competition impacted your business? And if it did, how do you handle it?
Excellent question. Firstly, as far as I'm concerned, there was a wonderful book written by Tom Peters. It was called Thriving on Chaos. And in it, he spoke about the need to be absolutely obsessive about what you're doing. And he said, he used a wonderful phrase. He said, only the paranoid will survive. And I'm paranoid. I got in last night at about 6 o'clock. I walked every single store in Sandton Centre to go check up on our windows, what was right, what wasn't right, to tell the poetry people that I didn't like the one window. They hadn't had enough storage behind it with just rails going in. And checking up to make sure that Old Khaki in its new location is doing well. And then I walked around to all the others to see what it was. And I saw one of the cosmetic manufacturers like a tower hanging down in one of the big atriums, Gesundheit.
Thank you.
And I saw this tower hanging down. I thought, wow, we could do something like that, but we could put a climber sort of climbing on. So you've got to be paranoid about what your opposition are doing. And if one garment is sold by Timu instead of poetry, that's competition. The moment you stop being paranoid about it, you will die. That's for sure. So what to do about it? Answer is Shein, Timu, absolutely, they are competition. Amazon opening up will be greater competition. I've got a sign in my office which says, if the rate of change of a company is not equal to or greater than the rate of change of its external environment, the company will become extinct. And next to it, I've got another sign which says that if the rate of change of an individual within that company is not equal to the rate of change of the company, that individual will become extinct. So we've got to find ways to move the whole way around. Now, how can I compete against Shein? I'll tell you how to compete against Shein. You can come into my stores, you can go through the rail, you can try it on, you can stand in front of the mirror and see what it looks like. You can't do that with Shein and Temu. So what are we doing? We're trying to make our change rooms larger, more friendly, nicer places. There's space to put your handbag down, that there's space to put the clothes that you've just taken off before you try on to go in. So, these are the things I've said we've got to focus on trying on and doing things like that. And we've got to try and focus on our sizing, that our fit should be more tailored to the South African fit. Now, something you've got to remember, audience today is largely white. The black consumer has a different shape profile. Now, we've got 3.5 million whites in South Africa, Howie, somewhere around about there, and 57 million black. And which market do you want? So we're saying to ourselves, maybe we want to develop a fit subtly done for the black market, where the sizing parameters are slightly different. So, using local knowledge. The other thing is that I do believe where there is something wrong with Temu and Shein, and although the government's starting to fix it now,
Yes.
I have to pay 40% import duties on my fabric, but anything else. Why should they get off with a lighter level of duty? Everybody should pay the same. So we'll use our lobby groups and the retailers are getting together and we'll talk to the government. Guys, we're not saying don't let them in. I believe in competition, but just make sure we're all playing on the same playing field. So the answer is yes, they are competition, but we can do things to try and ameliorate that situation. And particularly in Cape Union Mart, we've got some of the biggest retailers in the world. Our buyers will be off in a couple of weeks' time at the biggest trade shows to see what's the latest, to make sure that we are right up there with the very best. The other thing that I want to say to you is we often don't realize just how different South Africa is. If you look at ski wear, most of the world, it doesn't have to be waterproof for the simple reason that when it's snowing, it's not raining. So most of the overseas ski wear is not waterproof. We know that the person who's going to buy a ski jacket in our company is going to go once, probably won't go for at least another year, if that, but is going to go and going to come down to the Western Cape and watch one of our rugby matches in pouring rain and want something that is waterproof. And what's more, our guy who's not a good skier is going to be falling more often than somebody else, to make sure stuff can't fall out the pockets by putting zips where we have to, and make sure that perhaps the fabric is also there to take a bit of the wetness coming off the snow. So you can use local, what they say, think global and global. And that's what we're trying to do. Very good question.
Nigel Mansell said, when there's an accident, I go faster.
That's true.
Let's go Larry and then Mark.
Okay.
There.
So Philip, wonderful, absolutely loving it. How do you ensure that the culture throughout the 350 stores, the same 250 when it comes to the customer service, when it comes to living your values? How do you?
Well,
that's what's the challenge.
2 weeks ago, we held our sales conference in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
We flew up 320 people to the conference. Many of those people have never been on an airplane. Many of those people have never stayed at a hotel. And we were there feeding full on to culture, values, all the sort of things, plus sales training, plus product knowledge, plus all those things. Our guys, one day only have to go through on product knowledge. And we have intercompany quizzes to make sure that they know what they're talking about. can't sell a technical product without product knowledge. So yeah, you could do it. It's all through training. I've always said that our human resources department is the most important department of the company because they look after not the stock, they look after our human capital.
Yes.
And fortunately, we've got an outstanding group who are very, very good, and that's how they get that homogeneity. You should get the same service whether you're in Timbuktu or whether you're in Dublin. Is what I'm saying. That consistency is critically important.
Right, let's go to Michael.
Thanks for the talk. What's your relation like with government? Two ways, but from a business perspective, have you seen much of a change with the GNU? Are you seeing much more supportive environment, or is it just more of the same? Then from a personal perspective, I mean, with the way that you get personally attacked, have you had any support from government, given the number of people you're employing in the country? Are they sympathetic? Not really.
Okay, very good. Again, excellent question. Firstly, for my other sins, I was president of the Cape Town Chamber of Commerce, and then I was president of SACOM, the South African Chamber of Business. And in those days, we had pretty high levels of influence with government. I mean, we went to try and persuade them, to not have forced removals in the Western Cape and move everybody out to Khayelitsha. We used to go and fight them on a number of issues. And we were always fairly cordially received by government. In the new order, zero, absolutely zero. You know who I want to blame for that? I want to blame organized commerce. Because whereas the sports federations all came together, when it came to business, we still have NAFCOP, we have FABCOS, we have SACOP, we have all the Afrikaans Business Institution, Handelskammer. And it's terrible that business, white business and black business and colored business, we could never put ourselves together. So, they always say, when there's one finger pointing out, there's three pointing back at you. And I believe that's where we failed. We did not do a good job. So the answer is no, we don't have relationships with government at all. As far as our protests and things like that, nothing at all. The politicians know where to find me when they come for the donations, that they know, but otherwise we don't see them. I must say that the DA is approachable, and certainly if you ask them, they try hard. And, we paid out all our employees during COVID. We didn't retrench a single one. And the unions came and said, wouldn't we pay out money to them rather than the emergency funds of government? And they would reimburse us. Well, 4 court cases later, the latest one still on in Johannesburg, we still win every case and we still can't get the money. We're about to sequestrate one of the officers there. So you don't have that support, but as a DA have been helpful wherever they can. I phoned them and I said, listen, what do I do? How do I get money? Well, this is what we would do. And they phone a minister, but I'm hoping that the GNU will have some benefits. By the way, I am a supporter of the GNU simply for one reason. It's our least worst option. So you know what? We've got to try and make it work. And I can also tell you, when we put the Chamber of Commerce and the Chamber of Industries together, it was like this: the Nationalist Party, the ANC, and the DA. You know what? We wrote up lists of where we agreed, and we wrote up lists of where we disagreed. We had a list like this of all the things that we agreed on. Then we had the list where we disagreed. There was one item. It was on import tariffs, where industry wanted to be high and retail wanted it to be low. And we said, you know what, let's start working on all the things that we agreed. Within a short space, we were such good friends that we could hardly argue. We found solutions. My feeling is that when these two lots start working together, they will, in fact, find each other in many areas. They'll find their commonalities. And the other thing is you are seeing some extremely competent ministers setting new standards. You can just imagine the party bosses saying, listen, pass on. You better look at, well, these guys are doing, get off your butt, do something. So I think it's going to be good. I hope so.
One last question. Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, what are you doing with all your excess stock? Stuff that's, returned or that you're taking off the rails?
We have a wonderful opportunity. Just took place recently. We called in Ikamva, we called in the Red Cross. We took them to our distribution center and we said, from here to here, just choose whatever you want and take it. And so we give a huge amount to charity. And charities ring my bell. I've always believed in charities, and whatever you give comes back double. So that's what we do with it. We just give a lot of it away. And I must say that certainly the need is so great. You see literally the thousands of people who've been touched by some very good causes in Cape Town. We also we work with every year we try and pick different organisations as well to bring in. So we'll find people coming in. We'll help them all the way through.
Are you familiar with the clothing bank?
Yes, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I love people who do good work in society. There you go.
Excellent. Philip, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
It's great. Thank you. I'm David Zidel, and I look forward to seeing you next time in the boardroom.